Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. Anyone who remembers the TV show Murder, She Wrote probably had the same thought I did. That little Cabot Cove, Maine must be the murder capital of the world. There's a murder every week for Jessica Fletcher to solve. Well, who knows what goes on in small towns? Well, our guest today, Vonda Crocker, has an idea, and she writes about it in her second book, The Clinton Mafia. Welcome, Vonda, from a lake in Arkansas. What's the name of the lake again?
Greer's Ferry. Yes,
Greer's.
right outside Clinton. Yes, and Heber Springs is at one end and Clinton is at the other.
Okay, so we are talking about Clinton, the southern town of Clinton. We're not talking about a former president and the mafia.
No,
Okay,
we're not.
we'll get that cleared up right away.
Yeah,
Okay.
need to get that cleared.
Well, different towns are something you're quite familiar with. Before we get into the book, I want to tell us what it's like to move 26 times over the course of 34 years. In the course of 45 years, I've moved four times, so I have no way of knowing what that's like. Tell us
And
about that.
just amazing. And I wrote a book about that.
I
And that
know.
was my first book.
Hmm.
And that was written for Army wives or military wives to know that you can survive and you get very, very strong if you stay. You can go to home to mama if you want, but if you stay, you really become a strong woman or a
And what
man, because there are,
army
men,
husbands?
army husbands, right? Some of them are great. Yeah.
What strengthens you?
Well, every time they leave, something happens, something breaks. There's
Mm.
a dramatic something with the children, or there's always something the minute they leave. So my husband is still finding out about things that happened while he was gone, and he was gone a lot. So,
Was it difficult to put down roots when you're in 26 different places over 34 years?
yeah, it really is. But with the military, you're in a enclosed community.
Yeah.
And so you see the same people every now and then.
Mm.
Your friends will show up and you'll say, "Oh, great, you're here too." So, and then you make new ones. And so my husband was usually in command. So we had a team and I tried to make that team a family.
Mhm.
So that was, and we still stay really close to a lot of them.
Hmm. Now, what are some of the most interesting places? You've probably been asked this before, but I'm curious. What are some of the most interesting places you've been, or worst places you've been?
My favorite was Hawaii,
I
but
can
we lived,
imagine.
yeah, we lived in Panama. And that was interesting because we traveled in all the countries south of Mexico. And all of them were very, very interesting. And you learn to appreciate the safety here in the country, in our country, and you appreciate everything about this country. I think every teenager ought to go somewhere in a third world country and stay at least 2 months,
Mm.
and they will appreciate us much more. But that was one. Germany was interesting. Um, that was very interesting. So, you learn a lot, and we traveled a lot wherever we were. So, you got to see the whole area, and then of course the people. There were wonderful people in both countries.
Now
So
you've been married for about 58 years, I believe. Is that right?
59 and almost 60.
Nine. Sorry, but
Yeah.
so you got married at what, 10? Good grief.
Right, right. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a miracle.
Well,
Right.
I bet that you had no idea, or did you have an idea that this would be the lifestyle that you'd be leading
I
someday?
had absolutely no idea.
Ah,
I had no idea. My family was, daddy was a Supreme Court justice here in Arkansas, and mother was a teacher. And I just had no idea. My brother was in the Navy, but that didn't mean anything to me,
right.
as far as military is concerned. So, yes, it was a learning experience all the way across,
I bet.
all those years that we were in. Yeah.
Now you've settled back into Arkansas where you grew
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
you've been there since 1999, I believe.
Yes, yes, we have. And then my husband, of course, left again because he, as soon as we got here, they hired him to train the new Iraqi army for a year. So he
Oh,
did that. He was gone a year. While
a
he was gone,
year?
year. I built a wing on the house while he was gone. And then that was fun.
Oh,
And then he also wrote the protocol for the Afghan army. And so he was gone another 6 months for that. So
great.
anyway, and then he worked in DC with Linguist Worldwide for the military. And so he was gone a lot. He's really only been here maybe 10 years. So,
Yeah. Well, your husband is worthy of a book in itself. I mean, he has his own Wikipedia page. I mean, he's quite the big cheese.
well, Rick Atkinson wrote the first book about him and some of his classmates, and it was called The Long Gray Line.
All
And
right.
yeah, so that was mainly about George as the warrior. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Now, since being back in Arkansas, is that where you picked up your three black belts in karate, or was that
No, it was all over the country.
really?
As a matter of fact, I got the first one at West Point because it was the first year of the women there, and they let me work out with the cadets at West Point. So I earned my first one there with Tiger Kim,
Hmm.
who was ninth degree black belt and
Right.
tough as he could be.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
why did you pursue karate?
For exercise to begin with at Fort
Yeah.
Leavenworth, Kansas. I did it there for exercise, and that was another ninth degree black belt. And so I've had incredible training all these years and just lucked out having wonderful, wonderful masters. But then I just kept up with it. And I did Ishinru when we were in Leavenworth, and that was again in Leavenworth.
What
That
is
was
that?
it's a kind of karate, but it's more feet than hands,
Oh.
and so it's just a little different karate. All three of them were karate, but just different,
Mhm.
little
Now
different.
you've got two books behind you there. One was
Right?
Home Fires Burning that you wrote the
Yes.
memoir of your time as we talked about. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. Now, this other one is quite the departure from your first book, The Clinton
Yeah.
Mafia. Now,
It is.
what what inspired you to write about drug runners in the South and the women who tracked them down?
Well, I am part of the real Clinton Mafia.
Oh,
There
oh,
are eight of us now. There's five of us left, but we're really close friends and all so different, but we are very close friends. And when I started this book, I just thought it would be fun to use a group like we were and make a story out of it. So I stopped at Clinton, Mississippi, and I mixed Clinton, Mississippi, and Clinton, Arkansas.
mhm.
So the setting is really those two cities put together.
Oh,
And then when I did the characters, I did not use the characters like the real ones because if you read the book here, you would know who they are.
you're right.
Right. So they're totally different. There's one you might recognize, but other than that, and it was just fun to write. And I knew that there was drug running. I knew that they are using Mexicans who have family back in Mexico to keep them in line. So that's the sweet little lady who Consuela Lopez. She is the little lady that is here without her children. Her children and family are back in Mexico, and they have gotten her to put the cocaine in the fudge. And so she's the fudge maker at the little
Hmm.
tea shop. And so that's the basis of it is the drug running from Mobile, Alabama to Kansas City, Missouri, and then beyond. And why they are putting it in the fudge, I have no idea.
Boy, you're not
But
kidding.
mystery. But they are. That's what they're doing.
Well,
And it starts out with a horrible accident where one of the drug runners is coming down the hill into the town and he has this horrible wreck and he's killed. And so that's the beginning. So that means that one of those deliveries does not happen.
Mhm.
And the drugs are discovered there, but they don't connect it with anything. The local police just think, oh, well. So they put it in a compound and forget about it. So
Well,
anyway,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you have any experience running drugs, or any of your friends are that type
No,
of people.
but
But how'd you
I
do
have
your
a
research?
I have a state trooper neighbor, and,
Ah,
and yes, and I called him a lot and said, "Okay, can we do this? Would this work?" And he'd say, "Yeah, I don't know, you can't do that." So he was very helpful, Jerry Davis.
okay. So that's how you researched it, by
Yes,
your source there, who can
right,
tell you what works, what doesn't work.
right.
Did you find, as some authors who claim that when they start writing fiction, that sometimes the story kind of takes a life of its own and starts writing itself? Did you find
Hmm.
that to be the case?
Kind of did. Yes, I did. And my characters kind of live with me, so I kind of, you know, I can kind of relate to each of them, and also living in a small town now. I was raised in Little Rock, but we've
Mm,
been here long enough that
yeah.
I know small town life. Um, and so small town life is different than big city. So everybody knows everybody, and you don't say anything wrong about anybody because they're probably their cousin.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful. So
Well, that's what they say about small churches, is that, the advantage of it is that everybody knows everybody, and the disadvantage is that everybody knows everybody.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, kind of like a
That's
small
exactly,
town. Yeah.
yeah, exactly right.
But your characters were patterned on real people, but you had to sort of manipulate that. Living in a small town, how difficult is that to do, knowing that
It's
people know?
well, it wasn't too difficult because I made them all very, very different than
Okay.
the real people. And then, of course, the mafia met and went over some of the characters. And so they would give me hints and say, "Oh, no, no, you need to make this one such and such." So I
Mhm.
would do.
Well, now you've had a very busy career, with all your moving around. How did you manage to, as you say, you taught all grades? What does that mean? First through 12th, or
No, preschool through high school.
good
And
grief?
high school is my favorite. It really is. Seventh grade is my least favorite
I can
because it's
understand why.
a roller coaster. So
Yes.
that's my least favorite. But I loved my high schoolers and I loved my little ones too.
Mhm.
But I just when you're in the military, it's difficult to find a teaching position.
Right.
So if you want to teach, you go put your name in the bucket, and if they find that you can teach what they want you to teach, then you're called. In Hawaii, I taught at Mauna Loa High School, and I was called the white teacher in the high school because I'm Japanese.
Yeah, of
but
course.
but I learned a tremendous amount there. I was home ec there, and I learned how to cook Japanese, and it was a great experience for me.
Boy, there's an interesting phrase, home ec. You just don't hear that anymore, do you?
No, that's not what it's called anymore either.
I
But
don't think they call it anything, do they? Do they have anything like
they
that
do,
in schools?
they do, but I don't know what it is right now. It's changed two or three times.
Oh,
So
I remember that, home economics. That's a
yeah,
valuable thing. Valuable
yeah,
thing.
it is. There's a lot of chemistry involved too, and
Mm.
yeah. So
Some people would use their moving around as an excuse not to get anything done, but you've succeeded and then some. You've got another project in the works. Tell us about that.
do yes, that's called Gulf Shores, and it's a very very famous movie producer who is elderly, but she's still very active, but she's elderly. And so she comes to Gulf Shores every summer. She loves the sun, she loves the beach, and nobody knows her there. And she loves it because she can lay
Mm.
on the beach and nobody is bothering
A
her.
little anonymity,
So,
yeah.
right. So she comes and she looks around and she interacts with everyone who's around her one way or another.
Mhm.
And when she at the end of the book, you see how many lives she has touched, which is kind of interesting if you go to the beach then after you've read this book
Mhm.
and you're thinking, I really might should say something to to this sweet little old lady who's laying there all by herself on the
Mhm.
beach. So it's just, I mean, she did scholarships. She she helped one lady whose son was totally out of control, and she paid for a special school for him to go to and encouraged them to send him to this school, which saved the marriage and saved the whole family probably. But
So this is
it,
nonfiction?
no, this is fiction.
Okay, I think, wow, this person
No,
must be
no, this is
fantastic.
fiction. But it started. My daughter and I we're beach people, and we go there a lot. So we were looking around, and I told her, I said, "There's a story here," and so we were just making up things and saying, "Oh, look," and a lot of it is based on what we saw
Uh-huh.
while we were there and the people that were around us, and then we made up the rest of
Yep, that's a
it.
good tip for authors is to just be good people watchers and you can
Yes.
come up with all kinds of stuff. You sit in an airport and watch people go by. It's
Oh,
fascinating.
oh, that's priceless. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the book we're talking about is The Clinton Mafia. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and City Books. And Vonda, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Enjoyed speaking with you too. Thank you so much.
You bet. And thank you, folks, for spending a few minutes with us on the Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.